Hey guys, I am not happy with the current state of my life. I'm getting fat.
Damn boy, he thick though.
My productivity sucks. I'm procrastinating on tasks, looking at Instagram memes too much, binging YouTube until late in the night and waking up at noon, not investing into my passions as much as I want to. And overall, I just haven't been that motivated. If you relate to any of the things that I'm going through, then it's likely that you are going through a slump, the quarantine slump. My name is Sejal Wen, and I am on a journey to document my growth and progression as I try out cool things that other people aren't willing to do. Along my journey, I encountered the same struggles that many of you guys face and figure out ways to overcome them, demotivating slumps being a common occurrence. I hope by showing vulnerability and being transparent about the problems I face in my journey, I can help a lot of you guys overcome the same problems that I face. Since quarantine started, I haven't been in my best shape. Now that summer's halfway over, I decided to not be complacent anymore with my performance and view this as an opportunity to change and improve myself. Today marks the start of August 2020, and over the course of this month and beyond, I plan on completely removing the bad habits and mental models from the previous Sejal, allowing me to rebuild myself from a fresh canvas. If you also want to join me on changing your own life over the next 30 days, be sure to watch the entire video as I intended to make it super valuable and actionable for you guys. And if you want to continually improving yourself alongside me throughout your life, I highly suggest subscribing to my YouTube channel, checking out my blog oneskilloweek.com, and applying to join the One Skill a Week Facebook group, where you can find like-minded, growth-oriented people and awesome resources to push yourself to your full potential. Be open-minded and down to grind. Let's do this. Video is going to be pretty long as it's packed full of knowledge and value, so I highly recommend pausing right now to go grab a notebook so that you can take some notes. It's going to help you remember the content of this video and, most importantly, begin you on your journey to recover and thrive. I like to define slumps as periods of demotivation that come with unwanted symptoms, often caused by an altering event. From my personal experience, slumps are often caused by burnout, depression, or an alteration in your environment. Burnout slumps happen when you strain yourself over long periods of time. A personal example would be when I did the Breakthrough Junior Challenge on the protein folding problem. I spent 7 days purely focused on making the video, investing more than 100 hours in creating the 3-minute video. Afterwards, I completely crashed and went into a week-long slump. Depression slumps often correlate to a low point in life. When I switched out of the TOPS program, I lost many of my close friends. At my new school, I didn't know anyone, and it seemed that no one in the world understood me. It took months to recover, and with it came a slump. Alteration in environment is what we're all too familiar with. The COVID-19 pandemic took the world by storm, impacting everyone on this planet and creating the dreaded quarantine slump. You now have to adapt to a lifestyle that involves social distancing, remote work, no apparent schedule, and an abundance of distractions. This leads me to the effects of the quarantine slump, which are based primarily on my personal experiences battling slumps. General signs of a slump includes lack of motivation, a low attention span resulting from the pursuit of instant gratification, lack of goals and systems, and lack of intention with time, which leads to procrastination. But the current quarantine slump has been pretty different from all of my previous experiences. A big thing about quarantine is that you find yourself with a lack of external motivators and no apparent routine. Because I no longer had school in my routine or a need to wake up and go somewhere, I and many of my friends found ourselves staying inside all day and sleeping at absurd hours. Some of my friends you can consider as nocturnal. Sleep is the most important thing to being effective, and being reckless about my routine in turn affected a lot of other factors that are necessary to operating at a desired level. It messed up my eating routine as my schedule was completely different from my family's. This meant that I often slept through breakfast and only had lunch and dinner, which harmed my metabolism and made me hungry as I only ate 2 meals a day. I never cook for myself, so I ended up supplementing my hunger with snacks and sometimes fast food, which wasn't the best idea. For most of my life, I was never conscious about my food intake, as I could binge eat pretty much anything without it affecting me at all. However, combining the fact that I never exercised because I was always tired from the lack of rest with my crappy diet, I started picking on pounds. In terms of productivity, I wasn't in the best condition to do much work. My productivity dropped significantly when I get tired, which sucked because I was almost always tired, especially nearing the end of the day. Whenever I was in my tired state, working on anything intellectually challenging or required a lot of focus, it was much more appealing to pick up my phone, take a break to call my friends, or open another tab to YouTube. I would often find myself glued to my phone for hours, whether it's to binge YouTube, scroll through Instagram, or play Battle Cats. Nowadays, we live with an abundance of information and entertainment, which makes it really hard to focus on what matters. With so many distractions, I did not invest enough time into my personal passions, which you can see as my blog, newsletter, YouTube channel, and university application are all lagging behind. The thing about pursuing your passions is that there aren't a lot of external motivators or triggers to push you to pursue it. A lot has to do with your internal drive and setting up your own systems to track and measure progress. I used to have many of these systems in place, which I'll get into later on in the video, but over the course of quarantine, I slowly lost them. This made me lose my intention on how I spent my time, and with it, I picked up the bad habit of procrastination. So far, I went through a lot of my personal problems that I faced during this quarantine, and I think that a lot of you guys can also relate to it. But now it's time to dive into the meat of the video, which is what am I exactly gonna do about this? And how can you guys approach recovering and thriving? I'm going to break down this plan into 7 actionable steps for you guys to follow. The first step to recovering from a slump is taking ownership over your own responsibilities. If you want to improve your life, then you need to be able to control as many factors as you can, from the food you eat, the time you sleep, the clothes you wear, to the cleanliness of your environment. I started by making my bed and cleaning my room every morning. Then doing my own laundry, which is really easy. You just need a dedicated bag or bin rather than throwing it on the floor, and the ability to press buttons. Over the weekend, I went to the grocery store to buy my own food so that I can prepare it all by myself. I tracked all of the ingredients I had so that I could create a healthy meal plan. But out of everything, the most important factor that you need to take control of is your sleep. After researching into sleep science, I set a sleep schedule that followed the day-night cycle, as circadian rhythm, our body clocks, are regulated by the sun. Humans have naturally evolved to wake up when the sun came up and sleep when it got dark. Knowing that sunlight helps wake you up, I reorganized my room such that my bed was closer to the windows, which helped me set my circadian rhythm, wakes me up easier in the morning, and just vibes better. A quick Google search told me that sunrise where I lived was at 6 a.m., so I decided to set 6 a.m. as the time that I woke up every day. The biggest thing that you need to realize about waking up early is that it doesn't mean sleeping less. I still needed to sleep around 8 hours so that I could recover from the exercise that I would be doing. Simple math tells you that I would be sleeping at around 10 every single day. Doing another Google search told me that the sun set at 8:30 p.m. and so I decided to tone down electronic usage at around that time. Artificial light before you sleep messes up with your circadian rhythm as your body thinks it's day, making it harder for you to fall asleep and also getting good sleep. But the opposite is also true. Artificial light helps you wake up in the morning as your body thinks that it is day. Knowing this, I invested in the world's best alarm clock, the Philips Wake Up Light, which lights up my room alongside the sunrise at 6 a.m. I found this to be incredibly helpful for waking up early, and I highly recommend investing in one for yourselves. To make sure I woke up energized and ready to start my day, rather than setting an alarm, I programmed my Amazon Alexa to play Lil Uzi Vert 5 minutes after sunrise. After waking up, I would go outside and free the ducks and chickens into my backyard and work out or go for a bike ride. Exercising ironically gives you more energy throughout the day, which also means that it's a bad reason to exercise right before you sleep. Speaking of exercise, let's talk about physical health. I think the best way to improve your physical health is to set fun, measurable goals. I don't think exercising should be something that you despise. You shouldn't hate running, biking, or working out. It should be fun and enjoyable. I never worked out for the reason to build muscle or look better. Rather, be able to achieve the goals that I set for myself. For example, my previous goal was to be able to do 10 chin-ups. After accomplishing this, my next goal was to be able to do the muscle up, which I'm still trying to achieve. The reason why I chose chin-ups is because I love climbing. I used to climb schools and buildings when I was a kid and have been watching pro climbers like Adam Ondra and Magnus Midbo for years now. Recognizing that I had a passion for climbing, I doubled down on it as I wouldn't ever need to motivate myself in order to do it. I first went to my local Home Depot to buy some tools and resources, constructed a makeshift home climbing wall in my garage, invested in some climbing gear, and got myself a membership at my local climbing gym, the Hub Markham. The best part is, since it's quarantine, the hub is nearly empty, leaving the whole gym to myself. What's good about going to the hub is that I can measure progress. There are different difficulty levels for climbs, and there's always problems that I can't do and need to work on. With a clear goal in mind, I am much more motivated to train to get better, and now climb at least 3 times a week. Aside from climbing, I recognize that I really enjoyed exploring forests and trails for fun. But I hated running or walking, and much preferred to pennyboard, hoverboard, or rollerblade, all of which I couldn't take on trails. Realizing this barrier, I invested in a bike that allowed me to explore the trails in my neighborhood, which I love to do. This allowed me to bike for hours on end without ever viewing it as exercise. The big takeaway here is to not exercise for the sake of exercising, as it's really hard to consistently do that. Instead, incorporate a fun, desirable aspect to it, where you don't need any motivation to do it. For me, it was climbing and biking trails, but it could be totally different for you. As I continue improving over the course of this month and beyond, I am tracking my nutritional intake, weight, body fat, and muscle percentage. I will be posting updates and reflections on my journey, which will be out as I progress. Now that I got my routine set up for success, it leads me to productivity, aka getting done. The first step, which is incredibly important, is reorganizing your digital environment, specifically to battle distractions and instant gratification. The core idea is to make desirable actions easier and undesirable actions harder. I think during quarantine, there really is no use for a phone. I'm not going anywhere, so the only uses of my phone would be 1, to check Instagram, 2, to binge YouTube at night, and 3, to play Battle Cats. All of which aren't necessary, have alternatives, and are detrimental on my life. The reason I kept using my phone is because I convinced myself that I needed Instagram to communicate with my friends. However, I spent 95% of that time on Instagram scrolling through memes and sending them to my friends, which is fun, but doesn't actually enrich or improve my relationships with any of them. With social media, TikTok, YouTube, and other sources of instant gratification, your brain is gonna come up with all sorts of excuses to keep it or re-download it, as it enjoys feeling the reward of instant gratification. The key is to take a step back, recognize reality, and take actionable steps towards a better life. If my reason to use Instagram is to communicate with my friends, then I would just use the browser version where its primary feature is direct messaging, removing the explore page and the redundant meme binges. After switching Instagram to my browser, my phone no longer had a use anymore and only served as a meaningless distraction. I personally only use Instagram, but I understand that other people use platforms like Snapchat or TikTok. Both I find to be pretty pointless. Honestly speaking, Snapchat's only use is to send a picture of an S every day to people that you're connected with, maybe chat with your friends, and primarily to talk to girls. I know, I've been there. TikTok is purely for instant gratification, and I view it as the destroyer of attention spans. I'll get into why TikTok is so harmful in another video, and this is excluding the fact that they collect so much personal data from you. You guys probably have more reasons to use your phone, but you should recognize that most are likely just excuses. But if you have a really solid reason for why you should still use your phone, then I'd suggest seeking alternatives or deleting pointless and detrimental apps. If you choose to not use your phone, I recommend putting it in a hard to get spot, such that whenever you feel the urge to reach for your phone, it's never there. Now that your phone is out of the equation, we can move on to your computer, where I assume most of your work is done. An extension that I highly recommend you get is Motion, which tracks your time and productivity, blocks irrelevant distractions, and has so many features to enhance your productivity. It's the best Chrome extension out there and a must-have for anyone who wants to get shit done. But having this extension alone won't help you achieve your goals, as you also need to be intentional about your time. Time blocking is when you plan out every hour of your day intentionally. Using Google Calendar is the easiest way to do this, and you can see how so far for this week, I scheduled out almost all of my time. Time blocking will also help you overcome anxiety and stress as you feel more in control with your seemingly unlimited priorities and limited time. Right now, I have 2 internships, university applications, run a contract video editing business, run my own blog, YouTube channel, newsletter, building a startup, as well as a startup accelerator. For me, time blocking is essential to balancing everything and working effectively. And if I work on a whim without any intentions, I can't manage the workload. To further help balance everything, I have a Notion task board which overviews all of my priorities and their respective tasks. This gives me a place to set, measure, and achieve my goals. I used to get anxious not fully knowing what I needed to get done, but with time blocking and a task board, I feel much more confident. One of the most powerful ideas I've seen is this. If you improve by 1% every day, within a year you would have become 38 times better than if you didn't improve at all. This is the power of compounding yourself, and everyone who has become successful never did it overnight. It all comes down to slightly improving every day over the course of years. For my personal growth, I decided to read every day after I got off electronics at 9 p.m. Aside from books, I regularly dive deep into the best resources on the internet, covering topics like time management, ultra learning, and hacking systems from some of the smartest people in the world. As I found more and more amazing resources, I created a Notion with a whole bunch of super valuable resources that I compiled over the course of half a year. If you want access to the world-class resources that I find and curate, I created a Facebook group called One Skill a Week to share these learnings with like-minded people. If you stayed till the end of the video, I genuinely appreciate it, and I hope that you found this valuable and, most importantly, actionable. I highly recommend subscribing and hitting that bell icon if you want to stay updated with my growth. Consider also signing up for my newsletter, which will send you exclusive content and valuable resources. If you have any questions or concerns, comment them down below and I'll answer them and even address them in my next video. This is my approach to overcoming my slump, and I'll be documenting my progress as well as the problems I encounter as I go. I'm on day 3 right now, and so far it hasn't been too hard, but I found myself reverting back to old habits at certain instances. I'll be posting an update on my progress later on in the week, as well as a vlog and reflection for my first day. And hey, remember that we are in this quarantine slump together. I trust that you too can recover and thrive, and I can't wait to see some of the dope stuff that you guys do. See ya.